dust, every atom created for beauty, constellations in time, and the manifold stars hum a symphony. All of the heavens rejoice, all celestial bodies and forces. All of the heavens rejoice. Amen. On a hill crucified, or a cross for the hope of tomorrow, Jesus Christ bled and died, compelled to the ones who have scorned him. So let all of my heart rejoice. I will sing praise in my weakness and sorrow. Let all of my heart rejoice. Amen. All of my heart will rejoice, every chamber and breath for your glory. All of my heart will rejoice. One day I will be at the threshold of infinite dawning. I will fall at your feet, overcome by your glory and wonder. All of the heavens rejoice, every love lost will greet me in chorus. All of the heavens rejoice. Amen. All of the heavens rejoice, as the seraphim sing holy, holy. All of the heavens rejoice. Amen.
All right, we are ready to begin. Ladies and gentlemen, will you join me in welcoming Danny O'Neill and David Sisney for tonight's discussion on work, leadership, and faith.
Evening. How's everybody doing? All right, everybody getting their donuts? All right, awesome. Gosh, it's great to see you all tonight. Thank you for coming out. It's going to be a fun evening, hanging out here with the Bean Baron himself. So excited. So the whole way these Wednesday nights came about, obviously there have been several episodes, but when I was asked to look at Christian leadership in the workplace, I realized pretty quickly that you all would be bored to tears, and actually nobody would have shown up if it was all about me. So I started thinking about people I know, friends that we've made at Resurrection Downtown, and I thought, you know, we know a lot of people. We'll just have a different Wednesday night with a different leader, and we'll talk about what it looks like to live out your faith in the workplace. So that's how this got started. And so a little bit about me. It's not about me tonight, it's about this guy. But a little bit about me, because I'm sure there's plenty of you in the room that are like, who is this guy? So I'm David Cisney. My wife Kelly is here tonight. We moved downtown in '09 to help start Resurrection Downtown. We've been attending Resurrection since 1993. So it's safe to say we've been a part of every single building campaign that there ever was on this campus as well as downtown, which is crazy to think about. But we're celebrating 10 years at Resurrection Downtown. Crazy, right? Awesome. Kelly serves full-time on staff down there, and it's just going bonkers and going crazy. So if you haven't had a chance to come visit, we'd welcome you down there. But enough about me. We're gonna jump in tonight. We're gonna have a lot of fun with Danny, and just kind of get to know him. And the premise on this is that it's supposed to be casual, relaxed. We grow spiritually, we grow emotionally when we get to know someone we don't know. And so part of what we're going to do tonight, you're going to have a little table time here in a little bit. We're going to turn it back out to you so you can get to know each other around the table. But hopefully we're going to learn something about Danny. Maybe I'll even learn something about Danny I don't know already, and you all will too. So without further ado, Danny, tell us about yourself.
I have a little script here to go by. Danny O'Neill, great to be here, and thanks for hosting me and having me out here tonight. And as David said, I'm a member of the Downtown Res, and I think we've been down there now for maybe 6 or 7 years. And so really not that much. I'm from a small town in Iowa, Denison, Iowa. And sometimes I joke about it. Donna Reed was from Denison, Iowa, and she's the only one that's really ever famous that came out of Denison. Then we flatline after Donna, and there's not much after that. It's about an hour from Omaha. I'm the fifth of 10 children. Went to Iowa State. In high school, go Clones, yeah. Oh, we almost did it Saturday. God darn it. What was I going to say? Iowa State, and then I lived in Omaha after Iowa State for about 7 or 8 years. Then I moved down here in 1991, started the company in 1993. In fact, last week we were 26 years old, and just about the time that Adam started. Thanks. So, yeah, that's it.
Awesome, and we're all enjoying Roastery coffee. Notice our product placement up here. It's perfect, label out for the cameras. So, no, it's great. I know.
Okay, there we go.
There it is. That's good. So, Danny, what are some leadership principles that you live by? That you've, what are some of the things that get you going, and what keeps you moving?
Yeah, so they're probably not nearly as defined as they could be, but I grew up right in farmland and with the farmers, and I love farmers. Always have. Started working on the farms in around kindergarten. I remember I was too little to lift a bale of hay, so they had me drive the tractor, an 8-in Ford tractor. And that sounds funny saying that, doesn't it? So I'm driving a tractor when I'm in kindergarten. That's probably not very safe, but it was never an issue. But anyway, everybody jumped in. Everybody did everything. So I'd say that's one principle, that you're all in the same boat. You're all rowing. In our case, we're all in the same hay rack. We were all walking beans, detasseling corn, chopping thistles, fixing fence. And we all had to rotate up to the barn, which was 120 or 30 degrees up there when you're doing hay. But so you're not there's no job that you can't do and that you shouldn't do, or that you're above. So that's one. And then everybody gets treated equally, and hopefully lead by example. But Barnett Hellsberg, a mentor of mine, always says, do what I say, not as I do. But you hope to set a good example. And yeah.
I've noticed that too. Whenever I've met you at the hangar, there'll be something on the floor and you'll bend down, pick it up, and or whatever. I guess my point is there that you're willing to do what it takes, and you're you're not above whatever it
Yeah.
takes to make an excellent experience in each of your locations. But I've actually witnessed that at the hangar.
Yeah, I think that's totally, I think that most of us would say that that's how it should be. And I think that's part of our American culture. You know, some of us travel a bit in other cultures, and it's not always that. You know, the owner can drive up, throw his keys, and they empty the trunk and wash the car and have it back for him and stuff like that. And that's not working in our culture, right? So, and no one wants to jump behind a person like that, I think. So we're grown up. I think most of us were raised that way.
That's great. So, Danny, share with us some of your biggest victories and maybe share a big loss. What are some of your biggest victories and biggest challenges?
Yeah, the losses or challenges are probably the most fun to talk about, and that's another thing. You don't really want to talk about. You don't like to brag about yourself or your company, but so some of the bigger ones, I'd say on the wins, I suppose, just getting started, getting accepted, getting that first sale. That first sale was $37. It was the way biggest thing in my life. I was just so scared every single minute, every day. So to get that first sale was huge, and we'll do more in a month now than we did in than we did in the first couple years, but it's always relative. So some of the early wins, getting Fred Ball called us and put us in Hen House, and so April will be 26 years ago. That was huge. Costco came to town and they called us, and we just we treat everybody well, hopefully, and we were excited to look at Costco, but we had no idea that it was going to be, we didn't even know very much about them, to tell you the truth. We should have, but we didn't. But so that was a big win. Just quite a few different things like that happened. But then, the challenge is, if you're married or if you have kids, those never end, right? There's always a challenge, and we never feel like we make it. If you've ever played sports, you never hear an athlete ever say, yeah, well, we made it. Well, we're successful. So we never feel that. We always feel like game day, and I live for it. I still, just right now, I got goosebumps even saying that. Game day tension. So I played football, and I absolutely love that. And I haven't played football for a long time, but I still get goosebumps even thinking about game day. And so I kind of think about that with work or whatever I'm doing. It's game day tension. So that encompasses all kinds of things. It's preparation, doing your research, rehearsing again and again and again, knowing what the other team's going to do, knowing what to do in different scenarios. Just being prepared, and God knows, never feeling like you can't lose or can't get beat. We all know that. We've all seen that happen. Somebody doesn't think they can get beat, and then what happens on any given Saturday, right? Oof. So you never want that to happen. So we try to approach business that way. And then some of the big challenges, big losses, we've lost significant pieces of business, or at least seemed huge at the time. And most of the time, like Pastor Adam always says, the worst thing's never the last thing. And typically, the wins aren't near as important as you think they are, and the losses aren't near as devastating as you think they are. But when you're going through them, it just feels like a gut punch. In fact, we had a meeting today, and we are going through some financial stuff and just getting ready for the end of the year business. And we had challenges in our accounting department this summer. And I said to the accountant, okay, I don't need any more gut punches this year. I've had enough gut punches. So but anyway, so some of the bigger accounts that we didn't get that we thought we were going to get, those are challenges. And we bought this crazy expensive piece of equipment in Brazil 20 some years ago or 20 years ago, and I just did it on a whim, didn't do my research, and that whole thing ended up we probably had $300,000 or $400,000 wrapped up in it, and then I finally had. This friend come over with the plasma torch, and I paid him $25,000 to cut it up and haul it away, and so that was a booger. That was a big one. So there's a few like that.
All right. Well, thanks for sharing those. We'll dig in a little bit. We'll find out about his prayer life during those later. All right, so this is the opportunity. We're going to turn it back out to you guys. You're going to get 5 minutes, and at your tables, each of you discuss with one another what was the worst job that you ever had, and what did you learn from it? So take 5 minutes, have that discussion around your tables, and we'll be back. Good discussions, lively discussion. That's awesome. Hope you got a chance to get to know one another a little bit, and learn something about somebody that you didn't know before, so thank you for that. So, Danny, we're going to turn this to you in a second, but so my worst job was also my first job. The first week we did this, it was what was your first job, and what have you learned since then? And I shared with the collected souls that I actually fibbed about my age so I could work at Jack in the Box. So my birthday's in the summer, so I was turning 15 instead of 16, and you can get a job when you're 16. So anyway, told him I was 16, got the job. That was also my worst job. I learned within about 30 seconds I didn't want to be in fast food. So I think I worked there maybe a month, and then I went and started a lawn mowing business. So there you go.
That's cool.
Danny, what about you?
I think it's probably a tie between detasseling corn and washing dishes in a restaurant. Oh, both of them were miserable for me.
That's great. So what did you learn from that?
Well, I think probably the basics, and I say this a lot, I'm becoming, an old man that has all these little sayings, but show up early, stay late, you don't quit, don't quit, don't quit, don't quit. So that whole summer I detasseled corn, and then I washed dishes, and it was crazy. I was a freshman, and the restaurant would close at midnight, and so we'd get out of there at 1 or 1:30 in the morning. But I definitely learned that I did not want to do that for a living, and how hard the restaurant business is. It's probably one of the most insanely complex, complicated, most difficult operations. And we don't have any restaurants. I always said you have to be crazy to go in the restaurant business. And so, yeah, definitely not to do that.
All right, so you left the corporate life in 1993 to start Roastery. And so what were you doing, and what was that motivation and thought process to summon the courage and what you needed to do that?
Yeah, so I was a sales and marketing manager. That was my title, but a lot more sales and not very much marketing, really. But I concentrated the last 2 years on the meatpacking industry, and so selling boxes to the meatpacking industry. And so we won this big long competition to become the premier supplier, the sole supplier to IBP, who was the largest beef and pork producer at the time. So the company I worked for won that, and then it was it was probably $75 million at the time. They bought more corrugated than anybody in the country outside the federal government. So I was transferred here to help run that in 1991, and so for about five years working in this industry, I loved it. They probably could have cut my salary in half, and I would have kept doing it. I just I was elated. I was just it was pure fun. It was, meat packers, they're a tough group and stuff, but it was honest, it was fun, it was hard. I was doing the MBA at Rockhurst full time on weekends during the time, so I pretty much travel Monday through Friday, do a day, all day at Rockhurst. But during that time, there's a long story, but the short story is, I volunteered to go to Russia to help a couple different trips to help them kind of migrate or transfer from a communist-based economy to a market-based economy. And then I had it was such a profound experience, but these guys were just full of fire and energy and excitement and life and passion, and I felt at the time, I was looking at them thinking, God, that used to be me. I used to be that way. And I'm not an anti-corporate person at all, but I did not fit in that. I did not fit in that world, so I felt like I was just being smothered, and I really felt like I needed to do something different. So, and this sounds crazy, but I mean, so I started thinking about coffee. I would talk about coffee, and this was 1992, and there was just absolutely no coffee culture to speak of. And my company had been headquartered in Seattle, so I'd been going out to Seattle quite a bit since the mid-'80s, and we had great coffee out there, and so when I'd bring it up, people would think, oh, you're crazy. And it's kind of like undergrad if you'd say, what's your major history? And everybody'd kind of go, good luck with that. Let me know how that works out for you. So that's what I was hearing on the coffee. Everybody was mocking me for the coffee idea. And then I got halfway depressed because it was the only idea that I had. And so I started signing up for the United Nations volunteer program. I was starting to sign up and fill out the forms for Peace Corps. But then I started dreaming about coffee, and I honestly, I wish I could say, and then I got on my knees and I prayed to God, and that didn't happen. I never even thought about it, to tell you the truth. I just thought, oh my gosh, what am I supposed to do? And so I just kept fumbling around, dreaming about coffee. So finally I took a year's leave of absence, and again, prior to the internet, I'll just say one story to give you. There was just nothing out there. So remember the Borders bookstore in 91st and Metcalf, how huge that place was? I went in and I bought every single thing that they had on coffee, everything in the store, and it was 2 books and a VHS tape. And that was it. So I read them and I watched it. I still have that too. I should get that on disc, or maybe I don't even need a disc anymore. But anyway, so I just had to kind of go hoof it. So I went all over the country, and I bought. I wanted to get a car for free. That was my goal. Free. I still like free. So I got an old '77 Chevy Impala in Iowa for $800, and that was my car. And I would park it wherever I went around town. I would park it 2 or 3 blocks away so nobody would see what I was driving. Because in Iowa, they would always say, see what they're driving up in and see how they took care of their car. Well, I didn't want them to see what I was driving up in. But I went down to Costa Rica a couple more times, and so I determined I was going to go into the coffee business. I discovered air roasters out in Montana on this trip, and then went to Corvallis, Oregon, and bought one and spent a week, learning how to roast coffee. And this is in fall of '93, and so 26 years ago. And so didn't have any money. The farther you are from something like that, you look back, right? We've all kind of been there. I love hearing how older people, when they talk about getting married, and the woman tells the story infinitely better than a guy every time. But typically as well, we didn't have any money at the time, and they just kind of glow, and they go. And I think a lot of us, today they say bootstrapping, and I don't know if anybody's bootstrapped it, but there's not a lot of sexiness in bootstrapping. That's when you don't have any money, or we say in Iowa, the guy's got no cattle. I mean, we're broke, right? So it was that I had $17,000. I spent $12 on a roaster, spent $2,500 on our logo, spent $500 redoing the basement, and I don't have a dime. And I'm knocking on doors. So I did that for about 100 days until I finally made the first sale. So I'm glad you picked that scab, David. But anyway, so the year before I'd sold almost, not me personally, you never do it personally, but about $100 million almost of sale of packaging back when that was a lot of money. And so I went 100 days without selling a pound of coffee, and a pound of coffee at that time wholesale was $3.75. So then it was getting like depressing, and then I thought, well, if I could just quit, and if nobody would know, I would quit. I would have quit every day, hundreds of times a day, and I would make myself go through every single day and keep going. But then I thought, well, if I got in the Peace Corps, maybe nobody would have to know that I didn't. I would just cowardly leave the country, and nobody would know what happened. But anyway, finally somebody bought it, then another, and then pretty soon we're working just about around the clock for a long time.
Do you remember who bought that first $37
Oh,
sale?
I do. Pam Murphy. She had an espresso cart at KU Med Center, so KU Med, and then the counterpart at St. Luke's. We were just talking about St. Luke's. Those were our first two customers, and that was, I want to say December 7th, 8th, or 9th of 1993. Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome. All right, just as a reminder, too, we may have some time at the very end for questions from you, but there's so many of you, we're not going to run around with a microphone. So there are baskets in the back to write down a question, and you can write it on a napkin or something and put it in the baskets in the back, and they'll bring those up to me a little later if we get time to do that. So, all right. So we're going to head into a section, what I'm calling the hurry-up offense, for those football fans in the room. So,
2 minute.
Yeah, the two-minute drill. So you can either give a one-word answer or whatever makes sense to these, and we're just going to go through these rapid fire. You ready to go?
Okay. Yep.
Okay. Slow dance, fast dance, both, or no dance?
Ooh, preferably no dance, but then if I had to dance, slow dance, like a table. Kind of, yeah.
Favorite food?
Ooh, almost anything, but Thai, Indian, salads.
Favorite car?
Ooh, probably a Tesla.
Yeah, you got a nice one. Favorite movie?
Oh, that's a tough one. Planes, Trains, Automobiles, Caddyshack,
You got a theme going here.
Dr. Zhivago, probably.
All right. Favorite thing to watch on TV?
Shark Tank,
Yeah, I love that too. Favorite musical instrument?
guitar.
Best live concert you ever attended?
Probably Fleetwood Mac, Bruce Springsteen, Stones,
Nice. Favorite sport to watch?
football,
Favorite sport to play?
football.
Favorite sports teams, college or pro?
Probably Iowa State, Notre Dame. I probably don't watch very much pro stuff.
Okay. Black coffee or double tall skinny vanilla latte?
You guys are so lucky I don't work at a coffee shop. Because I would probably be mocking some of those drinks. But yeah, espresso or black coffee.
All right. Call a serviceman or fix it yourself?
Both. So, in fact, I had somebody over twice in the last month fixing something that I had all buggered up trying to fix it myself. But I always try myself. I always got to do that, make an attempt.
All right. Eat in the restaurant bar area or in the dining room?
Ick, never the bar area, always the dining room.
All right. Saver or spender?
I would say save. I had this mentality of save until you could buy something quality and then hang on to it forever, just like the farmers would do with the tractors.
Yeah.
So that's what I tend to do. So I would say I'm cheap until I buy something that's quality, then I hang on to it forever.
All right. Your best body feature?
I absolutely have zero on that. My sisters call me dork.
Really, you're not going to go for anything there, huh?
No,
Okay. Hug or no hug?
hug.
Yeah. And I knew the answer to that one. All right. That wraps up the 2-minute drill.
All
Thank
right.
you. Hopefully we learned something there. All right, so some of you may know or may not know Danny's a Reformed Catholic, or actually maybe you're not Reformed because I think you still attend Mass and still, I think we have a lot of Catholics actually that attend Resurrection that do that. I know at least a dozen that love the routine and the ritual of Catholicism, but they come here, they say, to be spiritually fed. So don't know what that looks like for you, but share a story about that and how that transition came about. How did you start coming to downtown, but Resurrection in general, and then what keeps you coming back?
Yeah, I had heard about Pastor Adam, for a lot of years, and we're members of a church in Brookside, and then my wife is from Beirut, and so she's a Maronite Christian, which is part of the Catholic Church, and even more, just memorize it and don't ask questions. I don't know if anybody else had that kind of a background, but I'm just insanely curious to a fault, and I just always want to know, and I'm curious, and so. And I don't remember being shut down literally and not being able to ask questions, but there was so much I did in the Bible, and just, went to 7 years of Catholic school, and there was so much I wanted to know. We never discussed it. We just would memorize it, and then and even in the first month of going to downtown Res, I learned so much for the first time. I thought, where was I? But so I loved it. I still remember, and I told Pastor Adam this, the first time that I was listening to his sermon, he was like, well, the apostles, do we even know they existed? How do we know? And I was like elbowing my wife. I was like, I've been asking this my whole life. I've been wanting to know this. And so his style is exactly my style. I just love that. I love it. I always feel kind of like Malcolm Gladwell or Stephen Dubner, where they don't really have a dog in the hunt. Well, that's interesting. Well, let's look into that. So I am just pulled in. I just absolutely love it. And then, and I think everybody probably does a better job today than maybe churches did in the old days when I was going through them. But here's how you live it. Here's an example of what you can do, and all the tying in the service, and I think everything about it is just much more approachable. I find myself thinking, well, heck, I can do that, or I can do that. So even the parables, whatever it is. It just feels, I just associate or connect with it, connect with Pastor Adam. I just really like it. I like how I feel. I like the first day. I really had to force my wife to come. She did not want to come. And it took probably 3 months to finally get her there. And we were talking at, just like now, at dinner one night with some friends. And he said, well, you know what, you ought to just check out Church of the Res. We go downtown. And so we went, and then we've been, that was, I don't remember exactly, 6 or 7 years ago. And you guys probably witnessing or you experience the same thing I do. And then there's all kinds of things, and I love the idea of you're not getting sermons or, preached at or judged. And I think most of all of us, I think, already have enough guilt. We don't need any more guilt, If guilt worked, we'd be in a different world. So enough of the guilt. And so I really love it. I could probably go out and sell for the church, for the Res. I really could.
Well, we're going to get into that. As disciples, that's kind of what we're called to do. Yeah. So, Danny, share with us a story that happened maybe in your workplace where your faith was seriously tested. How did you work through it? What did that look like?
We're going through a couple right now, actually. I don't know that I would say, do you mean like my faith in God is challenged, or am I staying on the high road as a Christian. What do you mean?
You choose.
Yeah, 'cause I don't know that anything has ever happened in my life where I've felt like, okay, there's no God, or now I don't believe, I don't think there's anything that's ever happened like that. But there are definitely challenges all the time that we all experience, and again, it's all relative. So I can be going through something, struggling with that one level, and a company 100 times bigger than us wouldn't struggle with that. But the impact on you is the same, right? So, um, so different levels of getting business. As you go up the chain, you find out about all these different things that you didn't know existed before. You roast coffee, you ship it, they love it, they pay you. And wouldn't it be simple if that was, if that's how it manifested? But we got to levels, we got to different things. Again, we're still a baby local company, right? But we get to doing a certain amount of volume, and then you get their attention. And a couple of times we had meetings like that. Where we thought we were going to go and get an award or something, and I'm like the most naive person in the room, and there was no award. They want a kickback, or they want some percentage of your sales because you're selling enough to the organization. And I don't want to say too much to give away any firms or organizations, but those are gut punches, because you've felt like you've done all the right things and stuff, and you, for the most part, you have, and now it's basically, they used to call it payola on the radio, right, or pay to play. Those kinds of things have really, they kind of suck the joy out of it for me, because that makes it really hard. So I don't know if it challenges, it probably challenges, how I respond. So some of those have been pretty difficult. And then, if you've been in business long enough, if you've been in business more than a few years, I guarantee you've been stolen from. And if you don't know it, then you probably don't know you're being stolen from, because it's happening. There's no doubt, right? And then, so the first time that's happened, that was, that's difficult. And again, I think we took, sometimes we've taken the highway, the highway where I hope all the times we've taken the high road, I'm sorry. Each of those kinds of things challenge how you respond. So there's that notion, you can't change how you feel, you can change how you react, but that's where I find, because my reaction, or I typically just want to call it, and I want to be direct and call it as it is, and that's not always the right way. So I'd say over the years, I wouldn't say you mellow to that, because those kinds of things, they still hurt, but how you react, I think, is probably it's like something bad happens and you show up the next day, which all of us have to do, right? You show up with a smile, and then everybody's kind of watching you to see how you're going to react. And then if it's like, oh my God, I thought the sky was falling, it's okay. And so that's what I've tried to do.
Yeah. So, we're challenged every week by Pastor Adam, all right, to walk our talk. It's real easy to be Christians in this room, right? We're all with fellow one another's. So this is real easy to look sharp and good and really walk the talk. But we're challenged every weekend by whoever's preaching, but especially by Pastor Adam, that we're to walk our talk 7 days a week. So what does that look like in your place of work? So Danny's on the spot, and we're going to talk to him about that. But I want you to be thinking about that. Part of what we're doing tonight is hopefully causing you to think about how you're running your business or in your business differently. What does it look like to be a Christian in your place of work? What does it look like to walk and be the light of Christ in your place of work? Are you in tune and open to what's going on with employees that you're working with, to know if somebody's having a bad day or a good day? And are you that person that they feel like they can come to and be able to share something with confidentially that maybe you'd pray with them even, right? So what does that look like? And I realize that that's really hard in business. And so we're going to learn about maybe a little bit about what that looks like. So what does it look like to be a Christian in your line of work? It's a retail establishment. I mean, it's a really different world, but what does that look like?
Yeah, so, and I totally, and then when David asked me to come here, I was, half joking, he said, boy, you got the wrong guy. You really don't, you have the wrong guy. And I do not, just full disclosure, I don't hold myself up ever as an example of, you want to see how to do it, come follow me, whether on anything. So with this, I'm not saying we have it figured out. I'm not saying we got it right. And there are probably a lot of things that we could do significant. And I'm not saying that as a hollow platitude. There's a lot of things we could do a lot different, a lot better, I'm sure. But I think, like Michelle was just talking about how when she goes to our Leewood store, and everybody is so nice, and everybody's so gracious, and everybody's so helpful, the place just feels good. For me, that's it. If somebody walked in there, if somebody walked in there tonight and said, "Oh my God, I forgot my billfold. I don't want you guys to do this, but if you did, can we?" I'm confident that they're going to buy you a drink. I'm confident they're going to let you use the restroom. I'm confident that if you have car trouble, they'll take care of it. I really feel super confident that you're going to get treated really well, whether you're a customer or if you work there, if you're a colleague to them. I hope that you'd see that in our workplace, the way you're treated, in the way people treat others, and then old-fashioned stuff. We pay our bills and we treat. To the best of our ability, we treat people the way we want to be treated. And then I have this thing, if I hit the pillow and I just kind of spin through my day, and if I haven't been, if I haven't been kind or whatever the case is, I just kind of do this film, a flashback, then I have to go make it right. I have to go back to that person or say, hey, I walked away, I didn't even say goodbye, or whatever the case is. But I think people, like when I'll talk to the group and talk one-on-one, we talk about serving. We talk about serving others, service of and for others, men and women of and for others. And so I get at least one shot at everybody in our new, when we're hiring new folks. And we don't turn over too much at the factory, but in the cafes, just by the nature of the business, there's turnover. We have a lot of students in college and stuff. So when they graduate, they go on. So each month we have, 5, 10, 15 folks. And then I talk about that here. And this is really simple and mundane, but if we want to hire people from the hospitality industry, and they're my favorite for all kinds of reasons, but they get it. They get serving others. It's second nature to them. And again, you can probably know all this or can look it up, but they can wire our brains, and then they can have us serve somebody. And even a thought of serving somebody, if you're wired correctly, or not correctly, if you're wired to fit in that environment, I serve you, I feel better. It's like Pastor Adam will talk about that, right? And it's so true. And you can hook it up, your brain up, and you can actually see what happens in your brain. So if we're serving others, we're happy. And then if you respond, if you're happy, then that makes us even happier, right? But you don't have to if we're wired correctly. So I'm gonna get back to your question. So then, and then I'm happy, you're happy, kumbaya, we're all happy, But then if you put, in our retail stores, if you put something in the tip jar, then it's great. But it's in that order. I'd hopefully never hear in our business, well, you take them. No, they don't tip. I don't give. Well, I don't. We're not. It's not about the tips. We've had cafes now for 14 years, and we've never had a discussion on the tips. It's not about the tips, obviously, it's not that. So I'd say, so what's Christianity in the workplace look like? That's what it looks like. And in 26 years, I've never heard, it's not my job. And I don't think we've ever fired anybody on a spot, but if I ever heard that, that would probably be that person's last day. That would be it, because it's everybody's job to to help each other. It's everybody. I mean, their colleagues, to help the customer. That's just not our deal. It's not our culture. So and then so yeah, but I mean, I think it's pretty. I mean, it's. I don't say, I'm going to church on Sunday, anybody want to come? I probably don't wear it on my shirt sleeve, and I don't know, honestly, if somebody went behind me and if they said, you should do a better job of making the fact that you're a Christian more obvious. I really don't know. I don't have a model for that, Just
Well,
thinking out loud about it.
Yeah, I think somebody will tell me who said it, but it's preach the gospel every day, and only if you need to use words.
Yeah, I'd like that. I'd like that. And then, like a lot of folks in this crazy entrepreneur group, and it was men's Bible group, and it kind of morphed into business, and several folks who really do an outward job of making it known to the world that they are Christians, Christian-based businesses, and do a really great job of great people. And after like a year, we were talking about recruiting more members. One of them said, well, I didn't join this because at first I just thought you guys were just a bunch of, Bible beaters, and in my experience with people who lead with the Bible and talk about Bible and stuff has just not been good. And then I thought, oh my God, I would never have said that, but I said, that's been my experience too. And several other people at the table have said that. So even now, if I just meet somebody, and if they start talking about God and the Bible, I am just getting away, because my experience has not been good with that kind of a thing. So I have that kind of ringing around my head from time to time too.
I think that's honest. I think we've all experienced that, and I have the same thing. Honestly, when somebody leads with that, I don't lead with that.
Yeah.
So I hope they see it in my actions, my thoughts, words, and deeds. But so have you ever gotten in trouble expressing your faith? Have you ever been in a situation where you have expressed your faith and you actually got slapped back or in trouble for that?
No, good question. And when the instances, or when the examples come about, or the opportunities rather, I'll jump on it, and I'd say immediately, and this probably comes up, half a dozen times a week. Well, you know what? You're in my prayers. I will keep him in my prayers. One of our folks his mother had early onset of dementia. And I said, well, since you told me about your mom, she's, twice a day I'm on my knees and she's in my prayers. So in times like that, I have no qualms. It's easy. It feels good to share that way.
Yep. I think that's actually a really great tidbit, right? So just by saying, I'll be praying for you.
Yeah.
That's a really great way to express the fact that you have a faith. Mm-hmm. And that you believe there's a higher power. And I loved how you phrased service above all else, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. I mean, it's a great business mantra. It's a great personal mantra. So I think that's really
I have been
great.
corrected a few times, though, when I say that, treat others as you want to be treated. And then I've been corrected where they say, no, treat others how they want to be treated.
Oh.
And I said, okay, I'll think about that.
How do you know?
How do you know? Yeah. And then maybe the way they want to be treated, you don't want to treat them that way,
Yeah.
Quibble.
So, all right, so what attitudes, desires, and habits that do you actually need to change to fit in your work culture? So are there roles that you have to put on that to fit in a culture, or think of your employees. Are they called to does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm just kind of thinking about that. I love teachers. I love like a mensch, a real patient, thoughtful, caring teacher. I mean, I really I admire them. I love them. I have a lot of friends that are actually teachers. I've not ever really kind of mastered that very well. I'm just insanely impatient just by nature. And just, I mean, even seeing somebody just really, I could be sitting someplace in another city and just watching people do something just insanely slowly, and it just stresses me out to even watch it. So I just wired differently, and so I have to just really put the brakes on almost all the time, like almost all day, every day. But then what I have done is just tried to take myself out of all those, any kind of day-to-day things, day-to-day managing, day-to-day control. I've never wanted that to begin with, so as soon as I could, the best lesson I ever heard was, Henry Block was my mentor for 24 years, I think. And my first meeting with him, he said, well, I was never a CPA and I'm not a bookkeeper. So I just thought, he started his company at GI Bill, $50 a month. I just thought if I could hire somebody better at every job, every position than me, I just might be able to make it. And I still remember it was his office on Main Street, and I thought, I left there thinking, I can do that. I can do that. And Henry, ever humble Henry goes, and in my case, that wasn't very hard to do. And so I've done that. So I've kind of, I shouldn't say I've done it. I've tried to do that. I endeavor to do that. And probably like a lot of you folks, as you hire people, you're thinking, well, I did this and I can do that. And then you hire somebody and they just kick your butt at doing it. They're just so much better. And then I'm almost always embarrassed because I think, oh my God, I wasn't doing it near that well all these years. I should have done this before. But I pretty much have taken myself out of most of that. So what was the question? I forgot.
I think you've answered it.
Okay, good enough. We'll go on to something else.
Yeah. So you mentioned a few minutes ago that on your knees twice a day.
Yeah.
What does that look like? What does prayer life look like to Danny O'Neill?
So I do Our Father, Hail Mary, and then just gratitude. And I try to, especially since Sunday, I've been trying to list the things I'm grateful for.
Grateful for.
Yeah, that's right. I just love him. And then I try to, like Pastor Adam will say, I pray, do with me as you would. I try to just pray to do the right thing, whatever that is. And there's another thing that really has challenged my, another major sponsorship here lately. It's really, I would say, unfair, borderline unfair. But I've gone through that, and this is kind of ongoing, but I just keep praying for the right words and then pray to do the right thing. And so I try to do that openly, and for me it kind of covers everything, because sometimes the right thing is to quit, sometimes the right thing is to take no action, sometimes so I don't pray to make this one thing go away. I just pray, keep it open-ended and pray for the right thing. So, and then whether there's some issues going on or whatever, that's pretty much it. And then there's always a prayer list of people who I know who are either sick or having challenges or something like that. So Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So, what's a perfect day for you? If you could define the perfect day, what does that look like?
Yeah. I haven't thought about that forever, but I would say, first of all, I say my prayers, and then I am at the espresso machine. I've never timed it, but I'm probably at the espresso machine in 25 seconds or 30 seconds, and I just do shots of espresso as fast as I can until my French press is ready, and then I take my French press upstairs, and then in a perfect day, though, you named it, right?
Yeah,
So we can just paint it any way we want.
Yes.
Don't cost nothing, right? So I read about electric motorcycles, electric cars, AI, artificial intelligence, robotics, anything fun going on like that. And then, again, perfect world, then I'm probably, of course, the kids are in there. The kids leave for school about 7:30. And then, then maybe 9:30, 9 to 9:30, something like that, until 5:36. Just do fun things in the community. I would say, fun things like here, college campuses, anything in Kansas City, the different hospitals, and just being out in the community. I just feel charged up, and then I wake up with quite a bit of energy. Then my energy builds during the day until I just kind of peak at night. And so it's all fun. And anything like that I'm doing is just perfect. And if you throw motorcycles or other shiny objects in there, it's better yet.
Right. There you go. So a drive in the country.
Yeah, love.
Right. All right. So Christ is calling all of us to faithfulness, and it's kind of what His call in our life is, not what we think we want. So how have you dealt with that in your success, the things you've had? How do your wants, have you kept your wants robbing you from, this great life that Jesus has in store for us?
So how have I resisted the wants?
Yeah.
Yeah, or whatever, temptations or whatever. Just
Yeah.
Probably I have to degrees. Maybe we all do that. There's some areas that you splurge on. But when my mom, she was in her 70s. She passed away at 83, 4 years ago. When she had 10 kids, 13 years, single mom, just sacrificed forever. And I finally was able to think about being able to do something for her, and I said, "So, Mom, what can we do? We can get you a different house, a different car, get a car, go on a trip." And she goes, "I'm good. I'm happy. I'm good." And I said, "We got to have something." And she said, "No, the older you get, the more you just realize you don't need all that stuff. You don't need all that stuff." And she was happy and content. And I thought, well, that's awesome. So, and I'm not so sure I've done a great job, but we're still in a 18 or 1900 square foot home in Brookside. We started the company in the basement, and we'll never leave because we started the company, but we love it, right? And the old axe, you live below your means, and and all that sort of stuff. So I don't know. I don't know if I don't know what kind of score I would give myself, to tell you the truth.
Sounds like you've done pretty well. I mean, in other words, you've managed that pretty well.
Yeah, we bought a farm. We had a farm for 11 years out by Excelsior Springs, but it was just great for the kids, and do all the different things, mowing and making trails and all that. So I would say we splurged on that. We didn't need a second home in the country, but then when it became cool, or when it was not cool for the kids to they didn't want to go there anymore, then we quit that. But I would say probably haven't splurged too much. That notion, I think I learned at least by my early 20s that wasn't going to make me happy. That wasn't going to make me happy. I'm slow to most parties, but I knew whatever that was, it wasn't going to do it. I knew that. I love really fast cars and fast motorcycles, and but if I probably if I were to cave in on that, I would probably buy one every day, because every single day I think about motorcycles and want to buy one. I really do. I think probably some people are like craving food, but I crave to go, but I don't do it. I know I shouldn't do it, right? So anyway, I don't. That's a
Yeah,
convoluted
the desire
answer,
and the
but
want is so much better, right?
yeah, yeah.
That's the thrill of that. So I know you've done some really cool, what I thought was cool, your charity rides.
Yeah, I love that.
Pick one. What was I mean, you've done some crazy long rides on your motorcycle.
Alaska.
Yeah.
So for me, and again, the selfish component of that is I love to ride motorcycles, and then it's like the perfect kind of for me. It's like the perfect formulation of doing good. So if you think about it, if you're doing good and helping others, then it's good in and of itself, right? But so if you're going to put the time in, then make it fun. So you have to kind of start with the premise. So no matter what you're doing for somebody in need, it's a good thing, whether they're suffering in Guatemala or Wyandotte County or Children's Mercy Hospital. So it's really simple, but so I want to help kids especially, and then we really focus on Children's Mercy and children with special needs. So, and I guess I was thinking that ride was for Children's Mercy, but it was for children with special needs. So the way it kind of manifested is Deb, who runs this organization, was talking about my kids, our kids, and running across the playground and how sad it is when just think about the kids who can't go run across the playground. So she told this story, and I'm all teary-eyed, and I think, well, you know what? An adaptive bike was, I think, $2,500, and I thought, you know what? I could get an adaptive bike. And then I just started thinking about doing a ride for that, and then I thought, I bet if I get a bike, then I could get enough money to ride, to match that and get two bikes. So it ended up, I just drove to Alaska, and then I love these long, epic rides, just long endurance rides. So I made a goal to do Alaska and back in 8 days. So 4 days up to the Arctic Circle, kind of look at it like Chevy Chase in Vacation, and then fly back. So up and back.
How many miles?
It was 7,800 miles.
On a motorcycle.
And so I did it in 8 days, got to the border in 3, and then, but we ended up winning. We ended up raising $26,000. I think we were able to get 12 adaptive bikes.
That's awesome.
So for me, that's a good, for me as a lesson is just, if you're going to go do something, then make it something fun if you can. And then if it's fun, you're going to probably do a lot better job of it, and you're going to tell more people about it. And then, so then I did last August. It's crazy, you never think about this, but we're pretty involved with the folks at Children's, love them, right? And every year or every day, people show up to pick up their children after surgery, and they don't have car seats. So I heard that, I thought, oh my gosh, how often does that happen? What happens a lot? And then found out that it was like $50,000 a year. They have to buy car seats. So it's, again, and you think about they have billions of dollars of need, and then this is the way I think, oh my God, I can't do anything about that. But I'll latch on to something. So I thought, oh my God, we'd do a ride for car seats. So I just rode to Cabo San Lucas and back, and so 3 days down and 3 days back, and it was really hot. I will never ever do that again. That was not well planned, but I got to Phoenix the first night, and it was 110 or 11 degrees at 10 o'clock at night, and then it just got hotter for the rest. So I just drove like a bat out of down and back, and we bought car seats for that one.
That's awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. Well, we've collected some questions from you all in the room, and we've got about 8. You can see the clock ticking down up there.
857.
There you go. So, how do you identify traits that you value when interviewing candidates? I thought this was a great question. So, what have you guys built into the business as you've scaled the business? You may or may not be involved day to day in hiring people, but what does that look like? And what are the characteristics and the traits you're looking for in people you're hiring?
That's a great question, and we've learned so much. First of all, about 12 or 13 years ago, I learned to take myself out of the hiring process. And Barnett said the same thing. He had to do that because you just sit across from somebody and you love them, and then you just know they can do it. They can be great people, and usually are awesome, wonderful people, but it doesn't mean they fit for that job. It doesn't even mean they can't do the job. You got to fit. You got to have the talent in the fit, right? So I think how somebody's living their life right now is super important compared to what they're going to be doing if you're hiring them. You might think, well, duh, but you really got to. If you need somebody to work a bunch of nights and a bunch of weekends, and they're not leaving their house at night or for nights and weekends now, they're not going to want to do that. They're not going to want to do it. And so you got to really want to do it. So I would say fit. I would say we made, just lots of putting people in positions that they didn't fit, and it was our responsibility until we really figured out the fit part. If it fits, then you're going to do it. No matter, we used to focus on experience and skill set, but it doesn't matter if you don't fit. It's kind of like your spouse. It doesn't matter what, if they don't fit, it doesn't matter what they look like or what they do. It's so simple, but it's not easy. I think everybody in here probably knows that.
Yeah. So we had another question that says, what would you say is the key to your success? Is there a key?
Obviously I understand the question, but again, we don't feel successful. I mean, so we're still in business after 26 years. So, you've been successful enough to, my old coach used to say, if you're going to fall down, just fall forward. So we've fallen forward enough. Again, I get the question, and not to be cute, but you never feel like you've made it. Right? You never feel that. And but I would say you really gotta love it. And think about, we could just talk all night about marriages, right? So you are gonna have hard times, and it is not a Disney movie. It's not a Harlequin romance. You will have hard times in a marriage, and if it is not built on love, then it is not going to survive. Highly unlikely. And for me, on the business side, it's that business is just hard as heck. It's no different than a marriage, and it's as hard or harder. Well, so what? No, so if you don't like it, then don't get into it. But those hard times, for me, it's this, you pull this from this intrinsic or from within, it's this intrinsic reservoir of passion, and then knowing that you're doing the right thing. And then, so if you don't have that, then I would say don't get into it. But so that is what, and God, I could just talk all night about all these, all the things that have happened over that many years, and so could anybody else in business. So that's what you draw from. I think you just know, no matter what, you're doing the right thing. This is what you're supposed to do, and then you better have passion for what it is. Otherwise, it manifests in, I didn't sign up for this. Well, I didn't. I love coffee. I didn't love whatever it is. So everybody has lots of challenges like that. So you need to really love it.
Well, I think that's excellent. And there was a question here that says, how has your faith shaped your leadership style? We've talked a little bit about that. What I've learned about you tonight is that you grew up in a very hardworking family. I don't know if you all caught it. He went past it really quick. The 5th of 10 children in his house. So busy house. Obviously, you had
chaotic house.
Yeah. But obviously, you had some really good, parents that showed you some of these traits. You grew up in the church, and you continue to make that a focus of your life. So I'm going to let you answer this. But what I've gleaned is that, while you're not leading with the, banging people on the head with the Bible, thank you very much. I don't think any of us appreciate that. It's pretty clear to me you're a man of faith, and every time I see you, and especially engaging with your employees and your customers when I'm at the hangar and we're getting ready for a meeting, I love your interaction with your folks. So I think you're walking it, but I'm going to let you answer it. How's your faith shaped your leadership style? And then we got some business to do.
Obviously I love my mom, but I think we had been in business maybe 22 years or something like that when she passed away. And she did not ask one question about the company in 22 years. Not one, not even accidentally. I used to joke with my sisters that she'd go, "Hey, how's it?" Oh! Not one. So it was, how's Carla? How are the kids? What have you been doing? And then, and I read, after she passed away, the advice that she gave to one of my little brothers when he had his first child. It said, "Be the best father you can be the best husband you can be, have faith." And none of the business, none of the coffee stuff mattered to her one iota,
There you go.
And so and I think, and what was the question on, I can't remember now.
It was how's your faith shaped your leadership
Oh,
style?
yeah, so that's a pretty good compass for me, so, I think you have to do your job, so you have to be honest. And if if I'm working for Dave, and Dave's paying me, I need to be honest and do what I'm supposed to do for Dave, right? And then if Dave's having issues or vice versa, I need to help him. But I mean, it's almost like a contract, just like we have with our kids and our spouses. We each have responsibilities, right? And I think ours is to do our God-given best with what we have, whether it's the talents or whether it's the potential. And then I think we set the conditions to try to, manifest whatever success that can come from whatever situation we're in. We need to set those conditions. And an old coach of mine used to scream, "Be in a position to be successful." And that just happened to be, if the play came my way, stay home, be in a position. And so I think, if you can just think about anything happening, and then somebody would, like a captain of a ship or something else, well, where were you? So I don't need to be physically present, and I can't be in all the places, but I need to have the right leadership structure, just like Pastor Adam here. I mean, my gosh, I can't imagine all these things going on out here, but he's got a great team in place, and that's his leadership. I mean, he does lots of things, but part of his leadership role is to make sure he has the right people in the right seats. And
Awesome. Yeah. Join me in thanking Danny for his time. Thank you. All right, so we got kids in Kids Corps, so we want to get you out of here on time. We've got 4 seconds, but we've got some prizes to give away. So Danny is going to pick 3, right? 4, pick 4, and one of these. Okay.
I know it's not very Christian-like, but I could be bribed here. Okay.
Here we go.
So, and we're going to say them? Or you want to say them?
Oh, no, I don't have to. David Vinson. David Vinson, you're a winner. Come on up and get your prize. Is it Josh? Is that Josh? Good.
Josh Godwin?
Godwin? Josh Godwin?
Have to be present to win.
All right. Gail Heller. Gail Heller, come up and get your prize. The 4th one out of the red Deal is the Brown family. Jake Brown Farm D. All right, come on up. All right, and you got to pick one out of this basket. Okay, here we go. Brrr. David Blazier. All right, come on up. Oh, two others, okay. We'll pick two more. Susan Manning. Come on, Susan. And Paul Holt. All right. All right, so if you will, I'm going to offer a prayer for Danny and for you all, and we will get out of here so we can get the kids out of Hawk and Kids Corps. So be in prayer with me if you would. Heavenly and gracious Father, we thank you. We thank you for opportunities like this to learn from leaders like Danny O'Neill. We want to pray blessings on Danny and his business and his family. God, that they would continue to do the work that they do in the way that they do to impact lives and change the world. God, thank you for Danny's time. Thank you for his courage to be up here. And thank you for his humbleness. The mere fact that he thought he wasn't the right person to be up here is exactly why he was. God, we thank you for that. Be with each and every one of us in this room tonight. Take us from here, hopefully, as better leaders for our businesses and our families as we go forward and lead a life that you've called us to lead. We pray all of this in the name of Jesus the Christ. Amen.